Welcome to the 23rd episode of the Red Sox Unfiltered Podcast. We are back after a temporary hiatus. I'm your host, Patrick Green, joined, as always, by my wonderful co-host, Dave Latham. Dave, say hi to everyone.
How's it going, everyone? Hopefully I sound a lot clearer than I normally do.
Yeah, so exciting stuff. We're actually testing out a new platform. We're using Skype to record our calls, record our podcast, so hopefully it will be better. And we have another host here, Chris Drosehn. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, all right, cool. We live and learn. And he is not only a wonderful Red Sox writer for RedSoxUnfiltered.com, but he is going to be one of the co-hosts of this podcast going forward. So, Chris, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
And he's also a technician. He's the guy who's helping us record this, so thank you, Chris. But anyway, down to the Red Sox, the Boston Red Sox. So since the last time we talked to you, a lot has happened, and not much has happened. The Red Sox basically have been, essentially had the division locked up for a month and a half, 2 months. I don't know, since August it's kind of been tuned down in terms of game excitement. But they clinched the division. They clinched home field advantage. They clinched basically everything you can clinch. And now they are basically just trying to basically the past few weeks has been who's going to get on the roster come playoff time, and that's what we've been interested in. So that's going to be the main focus of this episode. But before we do that, I do want to talk about the game we saw last night, the Yankees-Red Sox. Obviously, anytime the Yankees-Reds play, it's a big deal. This one, less of a big deal. But the Yankees defeated the Red Sox 11-6 last night behind a barrage of homers. They now tied for the all-time team home run record with the Seattle Mariners, and they are one away in the last 2 games of the season from breaking it. In this game, Luke Voit hit another home run. I really don't like Luke Voit, but that's whatever. But Steve Pearce, silver lining, certified Yankee killer, hit a grand slam. I want to ask you first, Dave, if you had any thoughts on this game.
The game itself, not as much, but because if you look at the guys who pitched in it, nobody really tried. We put out Johnson, Cuevas, Hembree, Pomerantz, Kelly, and Pointer. Of those guys, maybe Pointer, maybe Kelly make the playoff roster, maybe Hembree too. At most 2 of them, likely only 1 of them. So we're not really trying yesterday. I wish we were just knock off a bit of the cuts.
Yeah, the people that they were, Cuevas pitched an awful 0.1 innings of baseball, allowing 6 earned runs. It was not pretty. The bullpen didn't pitch pretty. Joe Kelly didn't allow a run. That's cool. What about you, Chris? Did you have any thoughts on this game?
Not really. It was kind of like it was one of those things where you could tell that probably everybody pitching in it was either borderline not making the roster for the postseason. They're kind of in cruise control right now.
Yeah, they've been in cruise control. And again, it's really who's going to make the postseason roster. That's what is exciting. So let's transition to talk about this. This should take a lot of time because we got a lot of interesting storylines to follow. I'm not exactly sure when it will be announced who made the roster. Do any of you guys know? Is it like Monday after the last game, or could it come this weekend?
I'm not sure when they do it, but I know Cora's already said it's 14 position players, 11 pitchers.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I know he's had it set in mind, like who his people were in his bullpen like 2 weeks ago. So even though some people may think it's a petition, I think he had already had it predestined, I guess, maybe. I think that's some sort of
quote. Someone would have to really screw up to lose.
Yeah. So we're going to start out here with the bullpen. Now, the bullpen's probably the most captivating, where I expect we'll see the most shocking revelations come through here. We know Craig Kimbrell's going to make it. Anyone going to dispute that? No. Matt Barnes is going to make it. He's been awesome this year. Ryan Brazier, Nate Eovaldi, or Eduardo Rodriguez. Probably Eduardo Rodriguez. Stephen Wright hasn't allowed an earned run since June 22nd. Granted, he was out from that point till early September, but still, dude's been a beast. And the last 2 spots, there are a litter of guys who could do it. Could be Bobby Pointer. Could be Robbie Scott. Could be Heath Hembree. Could be Joe Kelly. Could be Brandon Workman. Could be Brian Johnson.
Will not be Robbie Scott.
I don't sleep on my boy Robbie Scott. No, yeah, it's not going to be Robbie Scott. Hector Velasquez is in it.
Okay, so Workman gets one of the spots. The last one, to me, comes down between what I think they should do and what I think they'll actually do. I'd like to see them give Bobby Pointer a shot. The kid's been great in the majors by and large. I know he hasn't been up here very long, and his numbers in Pawtucket weren't the best, but I feel like he's your best reliever of the guys left to choose from. However, that said, I think the Red Sox are going to go with Heath Hembree. Alex Cora made it pretty clear that he's not going to let small sample sizes weigh too largely on his postseason decisions. And by and large, Hembree's been really good this year with inherited runners. He's struggled recently, like the last month or so, but overall he's been pretty good. And I think Cora's going to see that year's worth of work and say, I'm going to take Hembree as my last guy, especially since Pointer really doesn't have that much experience with inherited runners. None of the guys really do. So I think it's going to be Workman and Hembree, but I prefer it to be Workman and Pointer.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. I love me some Bobby P. What about you, Chris? Who do you think in the two spots will go to?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I think they should go Bobby Pointer, and I think they should go Brandon Workman, but, Alex Cora knows better than we are, and he's been pulling all the right buttons lately, so I can't really say that he's going to do anything wrong. The only thing that bugs me is that, like, if there's runners on, it's that none of them are good to bring into the game. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, what do you want? And for matchup purposes, you would think Bobby Pointer would make more sense being a lefty.
For what it's worth, though, I do remember, not to cut you off, Pat, but I remember, I can't remember which game it was, but pretty recently, Eddie went in from the bullpen with inherited runners. He got out of the jam. That might have been sale day.
I forgot they were thinking about using him as a reliever, not a starter.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
From what it sounds like, I think it will be Eddie.
Yeah.
So I think Evaldi's getting the start, Eddie to the pen. So maybe that's their plan.
Yeah, it probably speaks to Heath Hembree being on the roster.
That was my next question. Who's your fourth starter, Erod or Evaldi? But yeah, I think it's Erod.
Oh, well, I just ruined 20 minutes of audio.
I think Erod will get into the bullpen. But so you're going Pointer, and you said Workman too, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, since I forgot about Erod going into the bullpen, I'm going to change it and say it's Heath Hembree.
Heath, yeah, I could definitely see Heath doing it. He pitched 59 innings this year to the tune of a 4.27 ERA and 4.24 FIP. However, September's been a little rough. 5 1/3 innings with a 6.75 ERA. Let's just say a lot of the Red Sox relievers have not done well in September, outside of Craig Kimbrell and Stephen Wright. But Brandon Workman, I know he's like a consensus pick, and he has a 2.69 ERA. But his fielding independent pitching, his peripherals don't look great. 4.55 FIP. Hembree and Joe Kelly have better FIPs than him, and FIP isn't the end-all, be-all, but it's a pretty good indication of a pitcher's skill. He has mediocre strikeout and walk stuff. I don't know. I didn't really delve deep into Workman's contact numbers, so I'd have to do that to make a fair assessment. But I think Brandon Workman will get one of the spots. If you have a sub-3 ERA and among this group, you're probably a lock. I also really could see Joe Kelly making it. I know that might sound like the worst thing ever.
Time to drink.
Time to drink, but he has the 4.45 ERA and the 3.56 FIP. I was actually used my last Boston Globe article on Pete Abraham's his roster predictions.
Well, that was a waste.
Yeah, and he has Joe Kelly in there. He has Joe Kelly as the last person to get the spot, and I could see it despite the 9.39 ERA in September. Kelly's had he's been an enigma all year long. We haven't brought up Brian Johnson left yet, but I still think he has a shot. He's only pitched 5 times this month, though. 3 as a reliever. Meanwhile, Bobby Pointer, September, October, 10 2/3 innings, 12 strikeouts, 2 walks, which is a very good K to BB, with a 3.38 ERA. The usage the way he's been used indicates to me that they are definitely thinking about bringing him in to the postseason. And again, he is a lefty, even though Alex Cora said in the past he doesn't really traditionally care about having a lefty. But I think, I'll go with you guys and say Pointer and Workman with an outside shot for Kelly, Hembree, and Johnson, because I'm really sad Brian Johnson won't make it, but I understand. Now, Erod or Evaldi, who should be the 4th starter, Dave?
All right, so if you're asking me, I think Evaldi's definitely earned the right to do it this year, especially if the Yankees end up winning the wild card game. Everyone knows he's been lights out in his 2 starts against the Yankees this year, but he's pitched really well against the playoff teams. I know it's been really great or really bad with Evaldi. There hasn't been much middle ground, But if you look at Eduardo Rodriguez's postseason numbers, I don't have them in front of me right now, but I wrote an article on it. Against postseason teams, like teams that will make the playoffs, Eddie has like a 6 ERA and pretty much all the peripherals back up that he's just been terrible. He's been fantastic against the bad teams, but against the good ones, he's really struggled this year. So I think that's definitely a guy, and I love Eddie. It hurts me to say this, but I think Eddie has to go to the bullpen in the postseason. Let Eovaldi be the fourth starter.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately what's going to happen because Eovaldi's had a nice little stretch in September. Chris, what about you? Who do you think should be the fourth starter?
Well, we talk about none of the starters having success in the postseason. David Price, his 2 playoff wins are as a reliever. Chris Sale is generally broken down at this point in the season. And I feel like Eovaldi has that extra level that he can bring when he's playing in a big game. And you kind of noticed it with the Yankees. He's like a Yankee killer, basically. And so that's why I think he's going to get it over Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think just especially like how they've been used. Eovaldi has been starting while Erod has been relieving him in games. So I feel like that's a clear indication that it will be Nathan Eovaldi. But I would like to compare and contrast their numbers real quick because they're eerily similar. Erod, 3.69 ERA on the season, 3.57 FIP. 2.4 F4, 388 xFIP. Those are good numbers. Eovaldi, 388 ERA, 368 FIP, 376 xFIP, 2.1 F4. Now, Erod's going to get you more strikeouts. They both are susceptible to some hard contact here and there, and Eovaldi obviously has a better command. So it's really like you could flip a coin, and I think effectiveness will be about equal. But just by how who I think it should be Eovaldi because Erod has not looked great since he came off of his injury. A lot of the statistics that he accumulated were pre-injury. I know he had that really good start coming out of the gate against the White Sox, I believe. But since then, it's been really mixed results. So Nathan Eovaldi's kind of earned it, despite he was, I would say 2-3 weeks ago, if you told someone, a Red Sox fan, that Nathan Eovaldi was going to be in the postseason rotation, they would be absolutely bewildered because Eovaldi looked so bad from like the entire month of August. So I'm going to say it's going to be Eovaldi, but I'm not sure either way who will be more effective. I think it doesn't really matter because you can stack both of them, have Eovaldi go 4 innings, Erod go 4 innings, 3 innings, something like that, and you can create a really nice mix there. It doesn't really matter who's starting. Does anyone?
I'm old enough to remember when people were talking about replacing Eovaldi in the postseason rotation with Drew Pomeranz.
Was that actually a thing? Do people
for like a week
that?
there? I remember entering the Braves series. Like Eovaldi had that bad start where he like walked 19 guys, and Pom came in to relieve him and did pretty well. He had like a week straight of solid outings, and a few people were like, "Well, maybe Pom's like finding that 2017 form." And then the next day he went 1/3 of an inning and gave up 5 runs, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's right, he's Drew Pomeranz."
So they didn't jump to like Brian Johnson or Hector Velasquez. They just made the full leap into whatever the hell Drew Pomeranz is right now.
I mean, 2017 was a good year for him. I know he sucks this year, but he was really good in 2017. I wasn't one of those people who was saying that, but like the talent is there. I just don't think he's healthy this year.
Yeah, no, I don't either. Whatever, his velocity's down, his usage is all out of whack. He doesn't have as much depth on his curveball. Definitely a weird year for Pomeranz. Definitely maybe has talent.
Is it surprising to anybody else that, like, during contract years, players are having such terrible years lately? Just, like, in general, for the most part. Like, Joe Kelly's in a contract year. Terrible.
I think, yeah.
I think it's just, you never know what you're going to get out of baseball. Like, if Drew Pomeranz hits free agency last year, he's signing a very big contract, but... this year he'd be lucky to get anything, really. I mean, someone will take a flyer on him, but...
Yeah, I don't know if Kelly and Pomeranz struggles are representative of people in contract year as a whole, but they definitely have really sucked, and I don't think there's any way around that. I just think pitchers are inherently more volatile, especially relievers. And Kelly, I think that he's pitched just like he has the past couple of years, just his batted ball luck has just not been there. So I think it's more just pitchers are just so you never know what you're going to get with them, and I think that's the trend we're seeing still.
Kelly needs to find out where Tyler Austin is and just beat the shit out of him, like, just for old time's sake. Get him on the postseason
Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Yeah.
That's right. They traded him for Lynn. That's right.
Yeah. He's with the Twins now. I saw him play the other day. I was watching the White Sox Twins yesterday afternoon. Why did I do that to myself? I don't know. Like, why was I sitting there watching a White Sox Twins game? Obviously, it means nothing to people, but yeah, he was there.
It's because baseball is going to be gone soon. It's making me sad.
It is. I'm feeling nostalgic. But I, dual screened it with the Cardinals-Cubs games, which actually mattered. But yeah, I had the White Sox Twins on. I regret it, but I did. I saw Tyler off. That's the point. Yeah. So we're gonna. I think Chris, do you have anything to add? You're comfortable with Eovaldi number 4?
Yep.
Yep. Eovaldi probably gonna be number 4. Erod bullpen. I think you're gonna be awesome. Oh, his stuff is gonna be so sexy out of the bullpen. I say that with every starter with good stuff, but that changeup is just gonna be such a change of pace. Can't wait. Anyway, this is a very polarizing discussion. I think we talked about this earlier. Alex Spear wrote an article attempting to fix Chris Sale's if he has this perceived problem. Because his last 2 starts, he's allowed 5 earned runs, and he's only gone 7-8 innings. And his fastball velocity is down. Last start against the Orioles, it was 90.2 miles per hour, and the one before was 92.8 miles per hour on average. And, he's a guy who usually sits around 94, 96, so this was a little weird. He is coming off of an injury. He's working his way back. I don't know how concerned I actually am. Dave, are you concerned about this at all?
I'm a little bit concerned. I think Sale will fix his mechanics. Alex Spear did a great job diving into it. Really, I don't know where he gets his stats, but he was saying, mentioning where Chris Sale lined up on the rubber relative to home plate, where his release point was relative to the rubber, and he really kind of pointed out the difference in Sale's mechanics, and Chris Sale's just such a nuanced, smart guy in the game. He will figure out his mechanics. I don't doubt that. What I am a little worried about is the fastball velocity. Obviously, Sale's been hurt the second half of the year, a good chunk of it. He has a history of tailing off his production as the year goes on, so I'm a little worried about the fatigue. And in each one of his last starts, his fastball velocity has decreased just a little bit every single time. So I'm a little worried about that. But the optimist in me is looking back into April, back when everyone was worried about Chris Sale's velocity. He wasn't hitting high mid-90s. He was stuck in the low 90s. And he was still a good pitcher, but he wasn't Chris Sale. But I remember right after one of the games, I think it was the one that was 12 degrees at first pitch. The game after that, he was coming back throwing 98, 99 like it was nothing. So I'm hoping Sale's just saving himself. I'm not sure how much of that's optimism and how much of that's just actual, I believe that's what's going to happen. But I do think that Chris Sale hasn't been giving it everything he has. And obviously, when you're in the playoffs, he's going to give it everything he has.
My first takeaway from that is regarding Alex Spear and where he got his stats. I would say Brooks Baseball. I don't know if you've ever been there, but they have all that release point where they actually line up on the rubber kind of information. Really good stats, especially if you're trying to look at pitcher data. So I implore everyone here to check that out because they have some really cool stuff. Alex Spear, also a genius. Chris Sale, I could see him throwing 100 miles per hour on his first pitch in his first postseason start. Chris Sale, I don't know why his fastball velocity is down, but even in those games, his strikeout to walk ratio was 15-1. 15-1, so it didn't really take away that much from his actual effectiveness. The earned runs suck, but I don't know that was really indicative of how he actually performed or some random luck. What about you, Chris? Are you comfortable with Chris Sale going into the postseason?
I like to rest my hopes in that he was saving it for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me too.
I don't know how much of that's going to be true because the velocity is concerning, but I'm in the camp that they've purposefully done certain things, maybe telling him to back off a little bit. That's obviously we're not in the room, so we can't hear what's being said, but it's possible that they told him to back off and save it for the playoffs. And that's what I'm hoping for. And that's why I'm not concerned. I'm going with not concerned.
Yeah, I mean, even given how Alex Cora has emphasized this conservation strategy throughout the year, and in the beginning he was kind of, I don't know if he was intentionally throwing slower to save his arm, but he was throwing slower, and there's no getting around that. It impact him much in the way of effectiveness, but he was throwing slower. Fastballs really have wear on the arm, and he's even throwing less fastballs. It's not like he's throwing the same amount. Percentage-wise, his fastball rate has gone down compared to an average Chris Sale start. So that's also interesting to note. But again, I'm not overly concerned. I think Chris Sale, even with diminished velocity, is a top 5 pitcher in baseball. I hope we can get this dominance into the postseason. I would love for him to throw 98, 100, 96, whatever. But I'm not concerned at this moment. I think he should be okay.
Yeah, Chris Sale at 60% is still better than the majority of pitchers in baseball.
Yep. Chris Sale, is he the AL Cy Young in your mind? Try to ask a question. That is tough.
That's tough, just because he missed so much time. I know if he had made one or two more really good starts, it's a no-brainer for me. But you do have to factor in availability. That's a big part of being a starting pitcher.
Yeah,
that's tough. That is tough.
That is going to be an interesting conversation because on Fangraphs, I think Jay Jaffe wrote an article lobbying for Chris Sale, despite his abbreviated appearance, to win the Cy Young. I think he would have the least amount of innings, I might be ever, besides a reliever of a starter to win the Cy Young if he were to do so. So that would be pretty interesting. I think Verlander's still in the conversation. I think Garrett Cole.
Did
Trevor
Snell
Bauer.
trail off in the second half of the year?
Oh, no. Blake Snell's doing fine. There we go. I cannot believe I missed Blake Snell. His peripherals at one point were not as good as his actual ERA, but Blake Snell will be up there. Actually, Blake Snell will probably win. I can't believe I just blinked on Blake Snell.
I was going to say, that was the first one I was thinking of, but I haven't followed, the Rays that closely. I'm did he have a terrible August or something?
No, but it's surprising because Blake Snell's actually 12th in Major League Baseball in Fangraphs WAR. His ERA is the best among starters by a landslide. American League starters. Jacob deGrom has the National League, but Cole.
DeGrom's the best in baseball. That's not even close.
Yeah, Bauer, Cole, Verlander, and Sale are all ahead of him in terms of F4. So is Carlos Carrasco and Corey Kluber. It's just because his peripherals are not as good, but he's really been absolutely amazing. And I bet you, push comes to shove, he'll win. What about you, Chris? You think Sale's the Cy Young Award winner?
So I think this will be telling of where baseball's going. So if he wins, it opens up the floodgates of, it kind of speaks to where baseball's going, where pitchers aren't going as long into games and all of that. So the innings aren't there. The stuff is there, and the stats are there, the strikeouts are there, everything's there. But the only thing that's missing is the innings. And that's why I think that he won't win, just because the innings aren't there. I think it, like you guys said, if there was one or two more starts, he could probably win it. But because he doesn't have that opportunity, he's probably going to lose it because of that.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't think he will win, but his value in the start he has made and the appearances he has made has been he's accumulated so much value in those starts, especially rate-wise. He's been better than any American League pitcher, that there is a viable case. September has not been great in terms of bolstering that case, but I think he'll still be a candidate. I think he might get one or a couple votes, but yeah, Blake Snell will probably win, even though his peripherals are not as good. So now we're going to segue into Rafael Devers. Before you got something to say?
Take coming for you guys. I don't think he'll win it, but I think Blake Treinen deserves a lot more consideration than he's getting.
I like Blake Treinen. I love
whatever.
I don't know. Blake Treinen, it's great. I'm going to say Treinen. He's awesome.
I know he's a reliever, but his ERA is 0.79 right now. Come on.
He's a reliever. I don't know. It's hard to.
I told you it was a hot take, and I don't think he'll win it, but I think he should finish top 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could definitely see that. And it's just it's so hard to accumulate the same amount of value as a reliever compared to a starter. But if there's any reliever I'm giving to, it's going to be him. He's going to win the what's the reliever award called? I'm blanking on it. I forgot what it's called. Whatever, he'll win reliever of the year or whatever the hell it's called. Anyway,
I didn't even know they had that.
They do. They have a reliever of the year. I don't want to say it's a Mariano Rivera award. I can't remember. I don't know. I remember playing MLB this show, and my relievers would win, and it would be called something particular. But whatever. You guys can Google it. You have that ability. So Rafael Devers, does he make the playoff roster? He's had a really hot stretch lately, and I think that's kind of alleviated this discussion a little bit. But there was a lot of concern. Is Rafael Devers have a place here, especially with Brandon Phillips' emergence? I think Phillips has just not been playing enough, nor effectively enough, for this to even be a conversation anymore. But Dave, do you think Devers makes the playoff roster?
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
Okay, yeah, I knew the answer going into that. I know you're a big fan of Raffy's big stick, and he deserves it. I mean, he's been really hot the last half month. What about you, Chris? Do you think Devers deserves to make the playoff roster?
Yeah, he does. Side note on the reliever thing, I think it used to be called the Rolaids Relief Award. But
Not the Mariano Rivera Award.
Now it is. Now it's the Mariano Rivera, yeah.
Oh my God!
The AL is Mariano Rivera. The NL is Trevor Hoffman.
That I had Trevor Hoffman in my mind too,
and that's only been since 2014. And Craig Kimbrell has won the NL and the AL one.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah,
Hoffman and Rivera. Wow, that was a complete shot in the dark. I was like, why do I think it's called the Mariano Rivera Award?
I think
safe a bet as any.
I think the video game thing. I think the video game thing you were alluding to was the Rolaids relief pitcher or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's what you were alluding to.
Yeah, because I used to play back in the day, and I remember I knew it used to be called something, but then I was like, wait, I think it's the Rivera Award now, but that didn't make sense because when I used to play those games, Rivera was still pitching. That would just kind of be very presumptive and biased if it was called the Mariano Rivera Award.
And if they do it for anyone, they do it for Mo, though.
They would, yeah. But what about you, Chris? Does Rafael Devers make this? You said he deserves to make it, right?
Yeah, he does. I mean, he kind of came back almost with vengeance, you know. So I think he's played himself back onto the roster.
Now, let me ask you a follow-up question to this. Does Devers deserve to be their starting third baseman? You go first, Chris.
Yeah, only because I have a hatred for Eduardo Nunez. So
I don't think that's irrational. What about you, Dave?
Absolutely 100%. I know Devers is a liability on defense, but his bat is too good to put on the bench. He hasn't had that much success as a pinch hitter. Granted, he's done it like 5 times in his career, but I think in those 5 times he struck out 3 or something crazy like that. The point is he's most effective in the lineup, and it's not like Eduardo Nunez, fantastic fielder anyway. This guy's not winning Gold Gloves. I know he's better at things at second, but he's not good per se. He's just not a train wreck. So I'd give me the upside of Devers at the plate over the defensive upgrade of Nunez any day of the week.
If you're a WAR guy, like I know you are, Devers is actually positive WAR. Where
1.1.
Nunez is negative WAR.
Negative 0.5. Yeah, he's negative 0.5. So it shouldn't even be a conversation. The thing that gets me is I didn't even know the narrative that Nunez was. Is it true that his defensive metrics are so much better at third than they are at second? Because I know he was an awful second baseman defensively, and that sucked a lot of his value.
I don't like defensive metrics and sample sizes that small. I just go off the eye test, and the eye test says he is a significantly better third baseman than second baseman. He doesn't have the speed or range to really play second. He's better at third, although he doesn't have an ideal arm for it.
Yeah, I think.
Second base, he had negative 15 defensive run save.
Holy crap!
Holy shit!
In 74 games.
What, is that true?
That's what Baseball Reference says.
Holy crap!
Dustin Pedroia in a wheelchair is better than that.
And at third base, he's negative 4.
So he has been better at third. How many games? How many innings at third?
Do
you have that number?
Hold on, I scrolled away from it.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
So like I said, train wreck at second, kind of bad at third. So yes, it's an upgrade, but is it really?
44 games, 359 innings.
Yeah, I'm on it too. This is actually a true stat. Negative 15 DRS at second. Negative.
It's like the Chris Davis of fielding.
Yeah.
Wait. What about Rafael Devers? Where's he at? I gotta see this.
His defensive metrics aren't bad.
I'm going down.
Yeah, because for every routine Devers throws into the bleachers, he robs a double down the line. He's great when he doesn't have time to think about it.
He's negative 13 defensive runs saved.
Okay.
So wait, Nunez is a worse second baseman in a far smaller sample size than Devers is at third?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know Nunez was that bad.
Well, to be fair, yeah, Devers has he has a lot more innings. Yeah, his defensive, that's surprising to me. I mean, I guess he gets the positional adjustment, and his UZR, his ultimate zone rating, I think is what Fangraphs use. They don't use Baseball Reference. Baseball Reference, I think, uses DRS. His ultimate zone rating is not as bad as Nunez's.
Since you mentioned Chris Davis, he's -4 defensive run save in 1,010 innings.
Wow.
So
we're learning a lot here. Yeah. So, do you think Brock Holt's going to be the starting second baseman, or should he be in the conversation for being the starting third baseman?
Ooh.
Did that?
Who should?
Should
I put Brock Star as my starting second baseman, but if we're really into fiery hot takes, I've got another one for you. I'd consider putting him as your starting first baseman against right-handed pitching. He's obviously the better defender, but he's just been in such a rut lately that I'm thinking Brock Holt's bat and the subpar first base defense is better than Mitch Moreland's awful bat and his above-average glove.
Yeah, I'm not even going to disagree with you. I have my next question was going to be the first base position. So now we can perfectly segue, and we can make the segue transition to that. And you don't think Mitch Moreland should play? I think Steve Pearce should play all the time. I think he's capable against righties and obviously he's superior against lefties. But I think Pearce should be the everyday first baseman this season. He's got 120 plate appearances, 959 OPS. He's been great. He has 140 WRC plus, 1.6 F4 in the year. Against righties, 828 OPS. That's for his career. It's not like this is just a small sample size. Against lefties, 853 OPS, 130 WRC plus, obviously good. But against righties, 743 OPS, 103 WRC plus. Moreland, meanwhile, who's been a 99 WRC plus, .5 F4 player this year. Against righties this year, 775 OPS. Now it's a larger sample, but that is still about roughly 45 points lower than Pearce against righties. And for his career, he has 103 WRC plus against righties, which is the same number that Steve Pearce has. So they have the same career WRC plus, same amount of damage against righties in their career. And Pearce has actually been a superior base runner. It's not even close. He's been the hotter bat, and his fielding has been almost the same as Moreland's in terms of defensive metrics. I don't know how reliable that is, but that's there. I think Holt as a platoon partner for Pearce could be really fun. I think that's cool. I get behind that. But I also think Steve Pearce could take over as everyday first baseman easy and be a significant upgrade. True story.
That was a lot of information. My brain hurts now.
Do you need a brain break?
Brain break. Give me 3 seconds.
Give me 3 seconds to recover.
All right, I'll go while you recover, Chris. I didn't know Pearce was that good against righties. I mean, I knew he was better than Moreland was, which really isn't saying that much. But yeah, I guess he's a slightly above league average hitter against righties, great against lefties, and obviously is a much better defender than Holt is. So yeah, I'm with you. You sold me. Steve Pearce,
yes.
Everyday first baseman, throughout the playoffs. Let's do it.
Yeah, wow. That was the first time I've ever sold anything on anyone. It feels good. What about you, Chris? What do you think about that?
I think your numbers are solid, and I'm going with you on that one.
Cool.
Yeah, just because Mitch Moreland's been on he's just been downward trend since a while ago. So I just don't think he should play over Steve Pearce, I think Steve Pearce has actually earned it, especially if it's against the Yankees.
That's what I was just about to add. Yeah, if it's against the Yankees, you do not sit Steve Pearce out.
You find a way to bat him 1 through 9, just every time.
Oh, yeah. It'll be a grand slam every time, hopefully. I don't know if you were watching last night. I don't know if any of you guys watched, but I thought Steve Pearce was going to hit his second grand slam in the bottom ninth. He had bases loaded, 2 outs, and he had already hit the grand slam in the game. Ready for another one. Make it an 11-10 ball game. Roldis Chapman comes in, faces Rafael Devers. We know what Rafael Devers did to Chapman in 2017. Ties the game up 11-11. I was ready for this narrative to happen, but we fell short.
That would have been hilarious. That would have been the greatest, but...
Oh, yeah, Yankees would have just thrown the white flag. They wouldn't even showed up for the maybe ALCS that they're going to have to play the Red Sox in. ALDS, sorry.
Yeah, that would have been a dream, and the Yankees probably would have lost their postseason eligibility just for that alone. But
They would
just
have.
retroactively take it back, let the Mariners in.
Yeah, exactly. Seattle Mariners. Take the Tampa Bay Rays in. Give me some Rays. Yeah, I like the Rays.
The Rays got hosed this year.
The Rays, man, they've come out.
Yeah, how did they do that?
Well, I think it was partially credited to the bullpen day. I think their roster was very deep. They have a really rich farm system. And Blake Snell's like the best pitcher in the American League. And the lineup's pretty good. The outfield has Tommy Pham, Malik Smith, Kevin Kiermaier. That's pretty sexy. Joey Wendell probably should win AL Roy, if not Shohei Ohtani. They've had some really good players. And, I don't want to root for the Rays because, they're in my division. But I just love how they've gone against the grain and performed so well with the salary that they're dealing with. So I've been a huge Rays guy, so go Rays. Go Kevin Cash, manager of the year.
No, don't go Rays. They're probably going to challenge for the division next year.
Look, Rays, I just am rooting for their story. I don't want them to win the division. Wild card.
Second place.
Second place. Overtake the Yankees. Do what they did to the Red Sox in 2011. Have Evan Longoria come back, hit a home run in the bottom of the ninth against the Red. You remember that when Evan Longoria hit the home run?
Oh, I try to forget it.
Yeah, that's what I want them to do.
2011, I just pretend that year didn't happen.
Oh, Carl Crawford, Adrian Gonzalez. What a luxury of riches we had. Sad times. Sorry I brought that up.
Yeah, but way to kill the mood.
I really did. But now we're going to move to the Red Sox catchers. Should they carry the three catchers? I think they obviously will. I think Swihart, Vasquez, and Leon will have a place. But should they actually do it? Dave, you go first.
Will they? Yes. Should they? Absolutely not. I have no idea why Christian Vasquez is going to be making the postseason roster. I get why Swihart's the best catcher all around. I really don't think there's anyone who would dispute that right now. Sandy can't hit to save his life, but the pitchers are in love with him. I think Rick Porcello and Sandy Leone secretly got engaged some point in August. Just listen to the way that Rick talks about Sandy. So he makes the pitchers happy. You can put him in for the start and then have Swihart pinch hit the rest of the game. So I get it. I get why he's not a particularly good defensive catcher this year. He's not he's terrible at the plate, and he doesn't really call games all that well. The pitchers don't rave about him like they do Sandy. I mean, he just seems like a wasted spot. Why not carry an extra bullpen arm or carry more infield or outfield depth? I really don't see the need to carry three catchers.
Yeah, the alternative for me in terms of position player depth would be Brandon Phillips or another bullpen person. What about you, Chris? What do you think about the three catchers?
I'm the same. I don't think Christian Vasquez deserves a playoff roster spot. This entire year has just, if you watch the guy, it's like he got his money, a little bit of money, and he's like, I'm done. It's almost like he took 2 steps back after getting that contract.
He certainly did.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I feel like Blake Swihart hasn't been given a fair shake as a catcher because he catches, Brian Johnson, Hector Velasquez. He doesn't get to catch Porcello, Price, and Sale. So I think if he was able to catch those guys, he'd probably rate a little better defensively. I would like to think, but who knows?
Yeah. To be fair, Blake Swihart also had the wonderful opportunity of catching Jalen Beeks in his rookie debut, and we all saw how that went.
Well, that's why I hate.
The Rays figured it out with him.
Yeah, I just hate when people use catcher's ERA because I'm that's so contingent upon the pitcher.
Who's pitching?
Yeah.
Catcher's ERA out of context is a bad stat. I do think that if Blake caught all of Rick Porcello's games, his numbers wouldn't be as great as if they were catching Sandy. But obviously, if Sandy catches Chris Sale and David Price, and Blake catches Brian Johnson and starter of the week number 6, obviously his numbers aren't going to be as good.
Oh yeah. The catcher's ERAs can be very misleading. I do think that there are some catchers who are better at calling games than others, but you just can't quantify it. There's no way to tell, which sucks, but it's really hard unless you have Rick Porcello or a pitcher raving about you to the media, which even then is still distorted. My take on the three catcher situation is I am not totally opposed to it because the alternatives is another arm in the bullpen, which I think that was probably been the best. But, I mean, your other alternative is Brandon Phillips. It's not like there's good position player options. And I think they are going to start Sidney Leon a lot of the time and then pinch hit for him almost immediately, like maybe 6th, 7th, 8th inning when there's a big at-bat. So at that point, when you have another catcher take over for him and Leon or Vasquez is being pinch hit for, if your catcher gets hurt, what's going to happen? You have no alternative. That's always been the trouble with pinch hitting for catchers. But I think that is like worst case scenario, doomsday. The odds of that happening are very slim, and I think they're preparing for the worst.
Brock is the emergency catcher. Just putting that out there.
I don't know. Hanley Ramirez, I'm still not convinced he won't make the postseason roster. We saw him gear up. It could happen.
Oh my God, that was this year, wasn't it?
That was this year. But
I'm curious to know. I'm curious to know if at this point in the year, so Hanley was with the team earlier. If he re-signed with the team in September, would he be eligible for the postseason? It's like a weird loophole, yes. Right? Because he should be. Because he was with the organization earlier this year.
Technically, Dan Bailey would be too. He was on the 40-man roster. He saw playing time before September, so technically he was. He got DFA, but he still exists.
Could you imagine if they just re-signed him?
Oh my God, that'd be the greatest comeback story since ever.
Oh, you said Dan Butler. I thought you said Dan Bailey. I was like, wait, who the hell are they talking about?
I think he did say Bailey.
I meant Butler, the catcher that's terrible.
Yeah, I heard Dan Bailey. I was like, oh, maybe they'll sign the Vikings kicker. That would be cool. That'd be interesting.
Look, fantasy football season's happening. Yeah, he's my kicker there too. So
yeah, it's on a lot of our minds. But
I've got a lot going on in my life right now. Okay.
Okay, Red Sox catchers. I said this before the podcast when we were talking. Dead last in Fangraphs WAR a negative 1.9. That is so bad. People are complaining that Dombrowski didn't get a reliever. Your catchers have a combined negative 1.9 F4. The next closest team to that is a negative 0.3 F4, which is the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's a 1.6 differential. If the Red Sox had just a decent catcher, and they were out there, like an average, like even below average catcher, they might have 110, 100. They might have the winning record because their catchers have been that bad. Their WRC plus is 45, which is also dead last in the majors, by the way. The next closest is the Orioles at 56. I'm very passionate about this. I think our anger towards Dombrowski and his lack of inactivity with the bullpen is misguided and needs to be directed to the catcher position because this was obvious. They all can't really hit. They all can't really play. So I think they should have gotten the catcher. My hot take. I'm mad about it. But we move on. Who would you rather face? The Oakland Athletics or the New York Yankees? Obviously, they play each other in the AL wildcard game in New York on Wednesday, I believe, at 8 o'clock on ESPN. Don't miss that. I don't really care if you miss that, but I just repped it anyway. Dave, who would you rather face?
This is going to sound blasphemous, but give me the New York Yankees. I think we match up a lot better against them than we do the Athletics. The Yankees really haven't been the same team in the second half of the season. They lost Aaron Judge for a long time, and obviously that hurt their record. But since Judge has come back, he really hasn't been hitting anything that well. He had a homer yesterday, but still. Stanton's been terrible through September. Sevy's had a rough second half of the year. Beatable team. It won't be easy to beat them, but it feels like a beatable team. He's starting a wild card game for them, so they really, their best bet they won't be able to use him game one, so really they're going to have to be rolling out a Severino who's struggled recently. So I'd much rather have the Yankees.
What about you, Chris?
The Athletics hold the bejesus out of me, just because we know how both the bullpens are super important. And I think their bullpen, just kind of destroys the Red Sox bullpen.
Oh, yeah.
And I think given that the Red Sox have had the number of the Yankees in their pitching, basically, I think the Athletics are a really good road team. I believe that's a correct thing. I could be wrong. I haven't looked it up. I've heard that before. So I'm more in the camp of the Yankees. When the Yankees play the Red Sox in Fenway, the Yankees do worse, and vice versa. So given that the Red Sox have home field advantage, I feel like that it's better to have the Yankees given their home road splits with the Red Sox, whereas the Oakland A's came to Fenway 1-2 out of 3, I think it was, and then the Red Sox went to Oakland, and the same thing happened. So I just like the idea that the Yankees generally seem to be worse at Fenway.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that may be too small of a sample, might be too fluky, but I will actually go against you guys, and I would rather face the Oakland Athletics. I'm sorry. They both have elite offenses. They have 110 WRC+, plus, which is tied with the Yankees, Red Sox, and Astros for the league lead. It's a four-way tie up top, so the offensive production is about the same. And the Athletics actually have the most WAR of any any position players, so they've accumulated the most WAR in that area. They have a really good offense. People don't think about it, but when you got Matt Chapman, Chris Davis, Matt Olson, Jed Lowry, there are some sneaky guys who are doing some real damage. The bullpens for both teams are elite. Yankees bullpen's grades a little better than the Yankees. And the rotation's where it really is a difference for me. The Yankees rotation is 4th in Fangraphs WAR, ERA, and 384 FIP. That's among the best. And they have Severino, Tanaka, J.A. Happ, and CC Sabathia. Meanwhile, the A's rotation is 20th in F4, 7.7 WAR, 4.17 ERA, and 4.39 FIP. Instead of Severino, Tanaka, Happ, and Sabathia, you're getting Mike Fiers, Trevor Cahill, Daniel Megden, and Edwin Jackson or Brett Red Sox over Sevy and Tanaka. Despite Sevy's struggles, he's kind of rebounded a little bit in the last month here. So I'll say Athletics. I mean, for the story, I'd love the Yankees Red Sox to play. That would be more. And it'll be nice to play because if it's on West Coast, I don't. God, that's
West Coast baseball. I
forgot
about that.
So you know how the Red Sox always seem to get screwed out of the primetime postseason games during the ALDS. At least last year it was.
Yeah.
If the Red Sox meet the Athletics, that happens again. But if they meet the Yankees, it's 8:00 baseball every night.
Which I would love.
And New England doesn't get to sleep ever.
Yeah, because I mean, last year I was missing the games because there was there were a lot of in the afternoon with the Astros.
Yeah, there's a good amount of that. I
think they all were in the 4:00. I think. If
I had class the whole time. I think I watched 2 games of that series. It was maddening. It was hurtful. I should have skipped class. Actually, no, I shouldn't. The results weren't good. That was a rough series. That was rough. But yeah, I'd rather face the Oakland Athletics. Their rotation is very not good, for lack of a better adjective. But I think that's actually going to do it for this episode of the Red Sox Unfiltered Podcast. Dave, do you have anything further to talk about?
Yes, I do. The Chris Davis that's not on the A's, the one on the Orioles, it would not be... I gotta shit on the Orioles because they're the Orioles. So Chris Davis finished his year with a negative 3.2 WAR and a 168 batting average. That batting average is the lowest in Major League Baseball history. No one has ever been worse by batting average than Chris Davis this season. Had to mention that.
Had to take a shot at the Orioles.
Absolutely.
I think they're in enough pain, Dave. But I will also take a shot at the Orioles because, it's fun. So all season long, we've been tracking who will have, will the Red Sox finish with more wins or will the Orioles finish with more losses? I think Jordan, who was originally a member of this podcast, and yourself picked the Orioles for having more losses because they're that bad. I was wrong again. I picked the Red Sox to have more wins. That's not going to happen. Orioles have 113 losses to the Red Sox 107 wins. Orioles, you clinched something. Good job, guys. You're really bad. What about you, Chris? Any departing thoughts?
I'm going to crap on the Orioles, too.
Yes.
Hey,
please sweep.
Maybe next year you can figure out how to win 50 games. Just maybe. Maybe.
God, what happened with Alex Cobb? That was so disappointing.
That team, it doesn't look like there's much hope. I saw, I saw a tweet.
Their farm system's pretty bad too.
I saw a tweet,
absolutely trash.
I saw a tweet about the top. I think it was the WAR leaders of the Orioles. I think I saw it, and it was Kevin Gossman, who was traded, Manny Machado, who was traded, Jonathan Scope, who was traded, and Richard Blyer, who's out for the year, and then there was I think
I don't even know who that is.
And I think Jonathan VR, who is traded to the Orioles.
So,
So, like, literally nobody that's with the organization or that was with the organization the entire year is their leaders in WAR. I think it was WAR. But it's still astounding to me.
the Orioles are an astounding team, and not for the good way that you usually associate.
At the beginning of this year, I thought the Rays were the dumpster fire of the AL East. I 100% thought that, and I was 100% wrong, and I 100% own that.
Yeah, I did not. I saw the Orioles being bad, but not this bad.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I was thinking, like, if everything broke perfect, they could compete for the second wild card spot just because Machado's that good. But my God, this is historical.
Yeah,
Well,
I thought they'd top out at 70 wins, and that would have been a significant improvement over what they've done this year.
That's like practically double, and I'm not even exaggerating that much.
You're not. So, in synopsis, if you've been listening to this podcast since the beginning, Red Sox are good. Orioles are really, really bad. Thank you guys for listening. As always, you can listen to this on Spotify, on iTunes. And again, go Red Sox. Next episode we'll probably be in the midst of the postseason. So, yeah, let's get the Yankees-Red Sox tonight. I think that... Who's Nathan Eovaldi's pitching tonight? Who's pitching for the Yankees? Anyone know?
I want to say it's Lynn, but don't quote me on that.
Because I think it is Lance Lynn. Anyway, enjoy that, and we will be back next week. Thank you guys for listening. As always, go Red Sox. Bye, guys.
Later.
Did it work?
I think so.
Yes, it worked.
Awesome.
Yes.
If it'll stop
Sweet,
recording, it's just continuing to record. I click the stop button. It's like, we're going to keep going.
No, man.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, Leah, stop recording. It's like frozen.
We're just going to live stream our lives via podcast now.
It's literally just frozen and sitting here counting. I can see the seconds going up, but it won't.
Come on,
at least it's frozen recording and not just like, oh, that last hour, none of it happened.
Hopefully not.
Come on, man.
But honestly, like what you said about the live streaming, not a bad idea. We have a lot.
I think we should let's baby steps here. Got to learn to walk before we can.
We do.
So I am about to leave for the day because I was supposed to leave at now, but we ran a little late because of the thing being broken.
Yeah.
Can I send this to you later tonight? Is that okay?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Just send it to me tomorrow, and I should be able to edit it through GarageBand, and then I'll post it hopefully Sunday morning before football.
All right.
Awesome.
Because I'm not home tonight until 11.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay.
You can do it you can do it early tomorrow morning, whenever you have time. Just shoot it my way.
This is totally it's totally just sitting here and recording. It's not. It won't stop.
Hopefully, eventually, it will stop.
Hopefully, eventually.
I assume once we hit the end button on the call, it'll stop. I assume.
Yeah.
I hope.
Probably.
Yeah.
So let's end that. Good luck to your Patriots tomorrow, Dave. I don't know if are you Patriots fan, Chris?
I don't really watch football, but if I have to watch football, it's Patriots.
Okay, well, go Patriots and go Jets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go Patriots.
Go Patriots.
End of list.
End of list. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.